Hi folks, this is the tallest tree in the world. This is coast redwood, and this is a California native plant. So the English name coast redwood describes both the physical appearance, the reddish bark, and also the distribution. The scientific name is Sequoia, the genus, and sempervirens, which is the species name. And sempervirens means evergreen. So coast redwood is an evergreen conifer, which is a cone-producing woody plant. So coast redwood formerly was distributed all across North America. There are fossils of relatives of Sequoia as petrified forests in Yellowstone National Park. But today, the coast redwood is restricted to what's known as California Forestic Province. So coastal California, west of the Sierra Nevada crest, and it creeps a little bit into Oregon and a little bit south into Baja California. So an endemic plant or endemic animal or endemic species is one that's only found in one region. So we are true in saying that coast redwood is an endemic plant to California Forestic Province. So the northern limit is 14.5 miles across the Oregon state line. Any further north, then winter temperatures are too cold and redwood seedlings are not frost tolerant. The range of coast redwood extends for about 450 miles with little gaps all the way down to Big Sur, and the southernmost limit of the coast redwood range is limited by summer drought. There are no redwoods found further than 25 miles inland. There are a few individuals in scattered groves in Napa County, and none of them grow immediately on the coast either. They're not tolerant of ocean spray or salty winds and salty soil. So their current distribution falls along an area just along the California coast called the fog belt. So this is due to the California current, which is the cold ocean current coming down from Alaska, that prevents moist air masses from the Pacific traveling inland and causing summer rain. So the warm, moist air meets the cold water temperatures on the California coast and forms fog rather than rain. But the good news for the coast redwood is it can use that fog. So the fog precipitates on the twigs and the branches and the leaves, and then drips down to keep the soil moist. So even though we don't have any appreciable rainfall over the summer, the fog provides a source of moisture for redwoods, and it also reduces evaporation from the soil and transpiration from the leaves. So the redwood's distribution now is tightly tied to the fog belt up and down the California coast. I mentioned this was the tallest tree in the world. So the tallest individual, the current world record holder, tops the charts at 389 feet. It has a name, it's called Hyperion, and it is located at an undisclosed location in Northern California. Now the reason for the secrecy is to protect the tree, because if it was widely known where it was, the fear is that people would travel there, and as they're walking around the tree, they would trample the soil, compress the soil, and that would damage the roots. So the roots require oxygen that diffuses through the soil, and if the soil is all compacted, then the tree roots would suffer. That's the same reason why you can't get up and close and personal with the old growth giant redwoods in Big Basin or Muir Woods or any other place where you might be inclined to do so. So what I want to show you here, so this is underneath the redwood forest. We've got this layer of slowly decomposing dead leaves, and it can be several centimeters thick. When the redwood trees reproduce, they produce seeds through sexual reproduction. They have pollen cones and they have seed cones. The seed cones are small for such a big tree. They're about a centimeter to 2 centimeters. But when the seeds land on this type of material, they can't grow. So the seeds are small and they would run out of nutrients before they even get down to the soil. So in terms of regenerating, redwood trees need some form of disturbance. So the disturbance could be a flood that washes away all of these dry leaf material, the duff on top of the soil, and deposits brand new silt. So one area that we tend to find redwoods occurring is along the edges of rivers and creeks. So if a lot of silt gets deposited and buries the roots, then the redwood can produce new roots. So as you can see, at the base of the trunk, we have buds. So they're called basal burls, and these are sites of active cell division. And the buds can either grow into roots, and that's useful if the trunk is buried by sediment, or they can sprout into stems, branches. So one other type of disturbance that would allow redwood seeds to germinate and grow is fire. So fire would come out, it would burn up all of the dead branches and dead leaves, and seeds that fall in that are growing in the bare mineral soil and can establish. So the redwood forest is the southernmost extent of a belt of conifer forest that goes all up the Pacific coast to Oregon and Washington and into British Columbia and Alaska. So down here, fire, because of our Mediterranean climate, fire is reasonably common. And redwood trees have adaptations against fire. They have very thick, fibrous, fire-resistant bark, and following fire, they can regenerate and grow. So one of the other functions of these basal burls allows for regeneration following damage. And when the early accounts of California from the early explorers were this continuous belt of massive trees along the Santa Cruz Mountains all the way up the coast. We have lost 95% of the trees, and they were logged through the 19th and 20th century. But in areas like the Santa Cruz Mountains, we still have redwood forests today, but some of those redwood trees are called secondary growth. What happened was the main trunk got cut. They didn't dig up the roots were left in the ground, and those basal burls produced a new generation of stems. So that's a form of asexual reproduction. And as far as the forest is concerned, it's still redwood forest. But ecologically it's quite different, the second growth forest, compared to the primary growth forest of Northern California and a few pockets in the Santa Cruz Mountains that were never logged, and those trees have been continuously growing for hundreds of years, with some of the oldest redwoods clocking in at about 1,000 years old. So this is California redwood, the biggest tree in the world and a California native plant.